Oh my. Good evening. First of all, before I start, I think it's table 23. I just want to say happy birthday to the superintendent from Orange, Mr. Scarpetti. Are you here? Thank you for spending your birthday with me. Wow, I just want to leave. I don't know if I can live up to that. Thank you so much to CAS and CAPSS for inviting me here today and for taking the time out of your lives to come here tonight. I am so humbled to represent such an amazing group of educators in Connecticut and across the country. And I could not be more proud to be from Connecticut and especially from Waterbury. As I travel, people say to me, so you're the National Teacher of the Year, where are you from? And I say, well, I'm from Connecticut. Well, where in Connecticut? Greenwich, Stamford, New London. I said, no, Waterbury. You know, with excitement, and people are like, oh, you must be really good. But I just am so honored and excited because I have a unique opportunity to share all of the wonderful things that are happening in the Waterbury Public School District. And I am uniquely positioned. I used to joke in my class that teachers never really hear how good they were or the impact they made until they're eulogized. You hear people come to the funeral and say, your mother was an amazing teacher and I remember her. But I have had the unique opportunity to hear in real time the impact that I have made. And I am just so grateful to be able to represent this state and this profession. All of my education took place in the city of Waterbury. I went to elementary school, middle school, high school, and then all my post-secondary education took place in the state of Connecticut at Southern, the St. Joseph's, and the University of Bridgeport. So I am so proud of and know the results of a Connecticut education. And I am so eager to share that as I travel. I just want to begin by saying I could have never imagined that this year would be like this. When I got the call, I said, I need to talk to my husband. And he said, we can do anything for a year. I'm not even sure he knew what he was agreeing to, because I have to tell you that I had no idea that this is how it would be. So I just want to take a few minutes just to share with you what has happened so far. So yesterday, I Googled myself. Not because I'm a narcissist, but because I was trying to remember the exact date that the president made the announcement. So I Googled myself and all this stuff comes up and I'm like, whoa. So August 3rd, the president announces in the White House that I would be named the Connecticut Teacher of the Year. But my year did not officially begin until June 1st. So I consider this my first 100 days. You know, all teachers get the book about the first 100 days, and it's all of this useful information. And I really have learned so much in this first 100 days. So let me just take you through that really quickly. In the last 100 days, I have delivered a combined total of 68 keynote speeches, interviews, panel discussions, and plenary sessions. That works out to an average of 6 or more per week. Oh yeah, 6. These have taken place within the state of Connecticut and in 10 other states so far throughout the country. By the time the year is over, I will have visited 43 states. I've been to California, Indiana, Massachusetts. I've been to Washington, D.C. half a dozen times, Florida 3 times, Alabama, Arkansas, Indiana, Maryland, Minnesota, South Africa, Namibia, and Malawi in the last 100 days. In the coming weeks, I will visit Africa for a second trip. In November, I will visit China. In February, I will be in Dubai. And I will tour the country for the next year. When I was announced by CCSSO, they said to me, you only need about 3 speeches, you can keep using them according to the audience. And I was like, okay, this can't be half bad. I'm here to tell you today, that was not true. I went to Indiana, to the University of Indiana. I was invited as a guest to be their keynote speaker. And in my mind, I thought, this is easy. 2 weeks ago, I just delivered the commencement address at Quinnipiac University. So cross off Quinnipiac, insert University of Indiana, we're good. I landed that night, and the president of the university took me out to dinner, and some of the deans from the School of Education and some of the faculty members were there, and they were very excited to have the National Teacher of the Year at their university. Halfway through dinner, they said, we were so excited that you were coming that we had the whole faculty watch your Quinnipiac speech this morning. And I was thinking, if you had waited 8 hours, you would have heard it again. So this is a lot of work. This year, if I can tell you, is a very lonely year because I'm used to showing up at work every day, greeting students, and seeing in real time the impact that I've made. I spend so much time on the road and traveling that sometimes I question if the work that I'm doing is benefiting anyone. But I'm here to tell you that I had an opportunity today just to sit and think, and it's interesting because I had some remarks written, and then I went home, and if you came in my house, you would see I really have not had a chance to really digest any of this, anything that has happened. When I got the call from Washington, my first response was, why? And they said, the committee has selected you as the National Teacher of the Year, and I really didn't know what that meant, and I've been on the go since the very beginning. So in my dining room, every chair is filled with plaques and citations and letters and paperwork, and they're all pushed in, so it looks clean and it looks like it's all put together. But at some point, I'm going to pull those chairs out and go through all of this stuff, but I have not had the opportunity to do that. But I can say to you that as I travel the country, I realize that we do a really good job here in the state of Connecticut. Many of the challenges that we have begun to address here in the state are only in the discussion phase as you travel around the country. There have been areas that I visited and I have to ask myself, am I still in America? How is this even possible? And I don't think we give ourselves enough credit for the work that we do. My trip to Africa, however, was probably the most enlightening experience to date. And it makes me so proud of and grateful for the education that we provide in this country. I've learned so much in these last 100 days. I was in my house and I'm putting together a box to send to a woman that I met in Africa who started an after-school program in her house. And I came across the book, Brown Bear. I'm sure you all know this book. I love this book. Brown bear, what do you see? I see a yellow bird looking at me. Yellow bird, what do you see? And that book reminded me, I'm always looking for something to talk about because I always say, I can't ever use anything twice. So I'm always thinking, okay, what is going to resonate with the group? And this book just jumped out at me because I thought, this is the first book that I use to teach my children to read. We all know why, because it gives them this false sense of independence. They learn to read this book, and then they get the confidence to read other books, and they realize that they have the ability to do it. Partly because it's familiar, and partly because they can memorize and predict what will happen next. The pictures in the book provide context clues, so students really feel strong and independent as they read this book. I thought about that, and I realized that that's kind of where I was in my teaching career. I think this is what has happened in my classroom over the last decade. My classroom was familiar. It was what I knew, and I learned to respond to the context clues around me. I had such confidence because I was good at that part of teaching. My husband's a detective, and he's big on putting things back where they belong. You know, he's always after me. He says, you should be able to find your way around this house in the dark. I think that's his way of telling me to put my shoes away. He's always like, if we have a home invasion, you should know how to get around that. I'm like, seriously, who thinks like that? But I thought about it. In my classroom, I could turn off the lights and find my way around the classroom because that's the one I knew. I was so familiar with it that I really didn't have to challenge myself. And then I became the National Teacher of the Year. You know, I was that teacher who always opened the door and welcomed people in to observe because I knew that I was doing a good job. I realize now that there are so many other parts of teaching that I never even considered. I am the official ambassador to the I can't even say that without laughing. I am the official ambassador to the profession. And the thing that I realize is that, you know, initially I was like, I had feelings of inadequacy because I thought, I don't know enough about teaching, or I'm always going to go in a room and I'm not going to know the answer to certain questions. I felt like that as I walked in a room, there would be so many people that knew more about teaching than me. And now I realize that my only role is to articulate the perspective of a teacher. This experience has forced me to look at the many contributions that other groups make to educating our children. My lens has broadened in such a way that I really see teaching and education through the perspective of all the stakeholders that are involved. But I realize that I had to master one area, and that was teaching. I guess my question to you is, are you only seeing the areas that you are comfortable in? Are you only reading the books that you know? I spent the last decade in the classroom, and I only saw education through the lens of a classroom teacher. I felt like teachers are on the front line, and we deal with students every day, so we know best what's good for kids. But I have a new appreciation for all the work that others do in support of education. I've met people that are equally as passionate as me and really advocating for education, but they are only viewing it through the lens that is familiar to them. So I say that we have to do a better job of working together and sharing our stories and our perspectives. It's not only about hardworking students and dedicated teachers, like I thought for the last decade, but supportive administration and solid structures and systems and policies that are in place to support the learning of students. The more I travel and the more I meet people, the more I see that there are so many other ways to impact the education of young people. The problem is we're not doing enough sharing, communicating, or supporting the positions that do not serve our individual interest. I've often heard teachers say that they wish people could come into their classrooms and see what they do on a daily basis, or see what their day is like. In the past few months, I've solidified my position that it's equally important for teachers to go into communities and walk a day in the life of other stakeholders who also contribute to the conversation about education. For teachers to emerge as teacher leaders and lend their voice to other areas that are uncomfortable to us. We have to talk to people outside of the classroom and begin to understand their concerns and the reasons behind the decisions that they make. When I was in Africa, I saw students who walked to school 3 and 4 hours because they truly wanted to learn, and teachers who were there waiting to teach them when they arrived. I saw parents and communities who believed that education would change their futures, but who were not completely willing to make the necessary investments in their schools. I saw administration who did not always support their teachers, and government policies that did not sufficiently match their public statements. I realized that no matter how well-intentioned each of these groups were, until they realized how interconnected they were and how dependent on each other's input they were, that no meaningful change would happen. I'm cautious about being critical of that system of education because I realized that I only saw a snapshot, but it solidified the point for me that every group is important in the conversation surrounding education. In my own career, I've been fortunate to have tremendously supportive administration. I started in the New Haven public school system. My first 2 years were spent under the direction of Lonnie Garris, who taught me about community and the idea that we really must engage communities in every aspect of the work that we do. It's interesting because I heard you talk about the C's. My career is grounded in those C's as well. So community is the first one. Shortly after that, I left New Haven and went to the Waterbury Public School System, where I've spent the last 10 years at Kennedy High School. My first principal, Butch Azera, taught me so much about culture. He made me feel like it was a privilege to teach. He made me want to be a part of something bigger. He made me want to contribute to my school community in a way that had nothing to do with me. There was so much buy-in, and he taught me that. He retired, or educators never really retired. He fake retired. And my next principal was Mike Yaman, who taught me about capacity building. This was a man who allowed me to take risks and develop as a teacher leader. I was a third-year teacher, and he put me in charge of an ES committee and really helped to develop me and groom me as a teacher leader. He left, went on to be a superintendent, and my current principal, Mr. Rob Johnston, who taught me about the importance of the content. He made me revisit my practices and educate myself on the standards and the interconnectedness of addressing the needs of students and ensuring that they leave us thoroughly prepared. I hope the administrators in this room are listening, because your role is so critically important. When teachers feel encouraged, supported, and included in the conversation, they will excel. They will go beyond your expectations, and they will perform at the highest levels. I was fortunate to have administrators that believed in me, that trusted me, that supported me, that gave me a space that allowed me to educate our students. After my trip to Africa, I also have a deeper respect for the people who advocate outside of our schools to change the laws and the policies and create systems and structures that allow me to go in the classroom and teach. I never really had to think about all those pieces working behind the scenes, but I am so eternally grateful for them. I never considered the role that local boards of education play or appreciated how taxing this can sometimes be. And I understand how valuable all those people are now. I've always felt like they just don't get it. They don't know what it's like to be a teacher. But I'm revisiting that position, because those are the people that balance the budgets and keep the building safe and provide opportunities for me to wake up every day and go into my class on green, ready to teach. I don't have to worry about all those other things that are working behind the scenes. All I have to do is teach. Before I was the Teacher of the Year, I never fully appreciated all of the different lenses and all of the different roles that people play. Too often in education, teachers don't understand that role. And it's your job, I guess, to help remind them of how important they are and how we are all on the same team and working for the same goals. I often think about people like my grandmother, who never visited a school and knew very little about education. She relied on and trusted the fact that teachers, administrators, boards of education were doing all that they could to ensure that I was getting the best possible education, because she didn't have the capacity or the ability to advocate on my behalf. I don't know if we've lost sight of that, but it's our job. It's all of our jobs to make sure that we are ensuring that kids get access to every opportunity that is available for them. No one person or group has the monopoly on what's best for kids. Prior to this year, I thought I work in an urban public school district. That's the most challenging job, so I know more about education than other people. I have visited villages in Alaska where kids don't go to school because they close the school because there's not enough kids to attend. I have visited communities, mining communities in West Virginia, where kids work 6 months out of the year, so the school year is about 4 or 5 months. I have visited some of the most affluent communities where substance abuse is such a problem that kids can't even stay focused long enough to receive the lesson. Everybody has challenges, everybody has issues. No one community is more at risk than the other, and until we accept, appreciate, and understand that, we will not make the changes necessary in education. I also realize that we need to start sharing the work that we do. There's no reason why one community in Connecticut, like you said, is doing so well and others are doing so poorly. The equity gap in Connecticut is unacceptable. It's a disgrace that the range of access to opportunities is so varied in such a small state. The last 100 days have taught me the value of professional networks and critical friends. None of us has the ability to solve the problems in education alone. We have to work together. If one city or group is doing something well or knows something that's working right, we're close enough that we can share that information. After all, we do want the same things. It's not about one district being exemplary and shining above all others in the state. It's about doing what's best for kids and ensuring that every kid in Connecticut or in this country receives a high-quality education. Sometimes I walk in a room and people think I have a magic bullet. Like I can tell them how to fix their school or how to improve teaching or inspire or motivate their teachers. I don't know anything more than anyone else about teaching. What I do know is that I love my job and I'm eager to learn how to be better. If there were one takeaway for tonight, I would tell you that as I'm traveling the country and the world, I see what other people are doing, and I'm so proud of the work we're doing here in Connecticut, and I know that we have the potential to do so much more. If we stepped outside of our comfort zones and picked up a book other than Brown Bear, if we began to develop a deeper understanding for the various roles that all stakeholders play and started to build capacity in ourselves and in others. Last November, I saw the entire state come together when I was informed that I was a finalist for the National Teacher of the Year. I would love it so much more if the entire state came together with a resolute commitment to improving outcomes for kids. I know that we can do it. I've seen us do it before. Everyone here has a competing agenda, and it's very difficult for us to trust that others are working as hard as we are on behalf of our kids. But I'm learning that people will get it right if you just show them what they need to see. So share your stories, use your voice, help teachers understand why you make the decisions that you make, why you make the choices that you make, and they will be more inept to follow you. We all want what's best for kids. In closing, I'll just say that I was here this morning for another event. I was here for the CA retirement, and when the woman introduced me, she read a post that I'd written on Facebook, and I forgot about it, but it's worth sharing. And it says, I'm on the train going home, and I'm just thinking, people often compare my role to Miss America because there is so much travel and speaking engagements. No disrespect, but I don't want to be Miss America. I don't want to be a pretty girl in a pretty dress on a speaking tour. I believe in what teachers do. and I want to have a positive and meaningful impact on the profession and what we provide for kids. Please pray for me, because I don't want this year to be about PR. I want to use my voice to change the dialogue and push the conversation about education. About public education. I'm still not sure how to do that. I say to you, don't let this year be about PR and pictures. Let's use our voice to change the dialogue about public education. Let's work together to ensure that we improve outcomes for students. I am so eager to return to my district and continue the work that I've begun, and I just imagine how much more we could accomplish if everyone decided that we would all return to our districts and do the same. I don't know what that looks like, but I know it's not anything that one person or one group, the State Department's not going to do it, boards of education are not going to do it. It's not going to be about somebody writing a check and giving you permission to do it. Until you decide that it's important enough that we all work together and make it happen, it will never happen. Thank you so much for allowing me to be the representative of this profession and for advocating on behalf of public education in the state of Connecticut. Thank you.